London, 1888. The beating heart of the British Empire. But as the sun sets, the city is swallowed by a monster. They called it the Pea Souper. A fog so thick, so yellow, and so toxic that it turned the streets into a labyrinth of ghosts. It wasn't just weather. It was a lethal mixture of coal smoke, river mist, and industrial filth. You couldn't see your own feet, but you could hear them, the footsteps in the dark. In the East End, the fog was a perfect accomplice. It didn't just hide the monsters, it breathed with them. To understand the terror of 1888, you must understand the air itself. This wasn't the clean mist we see today. London was a coal-burning furnace. The fog was thick with sulfuric acid and soot, so caustic it would sting your eyes and turn your lungs black in a matter of hours. People literally choked to death while standing on their own doorsteps. In this great stink, the city was functionally blind. You could be robbed or murdered 5 feet away from a crowded pub, and no one would see a thing. The gas lights were mere orange blurs, struggling to pierce the gloom. This environmental catastrophe created a perfect gray zone for crime, a place where the laws of society simply ceased to exist. In November of that year, the terror reached its peak. While the world watched the headlines about the Ripper, a different kind of horror was unfolding in the shadows. People were vanishing, not just the unfortunate souls of Whitechapel, but witnesses, informants, those who saw something they weren't meant to see through the yellow haze. The police files from 1888 contain whispers of the Shadow Man, a figure seen only when the fog was at its densest. Witnesses described a man who didn't walk, but seemed to dissolve into the mist. Was it a trick of the gaslight? Or was someone using the city's greatest weakness as their ultimate weapon? The Metropolitan Police were hopelessly outmatched. Remember, this was an era before fingerprints, before DNA, before radio communication. A constable's only weapon against the dark was a wooden rattle and a bullseye lantern. When a witness claimed to see a shadow man dissolving into the mist, the inspectors had no way to track him. They lacked the forensic vocabulary to describe what they were seeing. Criminal profiling was in its infancy, often dismissed as magic or superstition. The detectives of Scotland Yard were walking through a literal and metaphorical fog, trying to catch a ghost with their bare hands. Every lead vanished into the soot, and every clue was washed away by the relentless London rain. Using AI reconstruction, we have visualized the lost streets of Miller's Court and Flower and Dean Street as they appeared on the night of the final vanishings. Look closely at these faces. These are the forgotten citizens of the abyss. Our investigation reveals a startling connection between the fog density and a series of silent crimes that never made the front pages. It wasn't just murder. It was a systematic cleansing of the underground. Someone was moving through the fog with surgical precision, leaving no trace, no blood, and no witnesses. Rumors began to spread through the tenements of Spitalfields. Some said the Shadow Man wasn't a man at all, but a manifestation of the city's collective misery. Others whispered that he was a member of the high aristocracy, protected by the very fog that hid his face. There were reports of strange markings found on the brickwork of the alleys, symbols that looked like surgical diagrams, or perhaps ancient ciphers. Was it a cult, a lone madman, or a state-sponsored executioner? The silence from the authorities only fueled the fire. The more the police stayed quiet, the more the fog seemed to grow, feeding on the city's mounting paranoia. The Great Fog eventually lifted, but the secrets it held remained buried in the soot of history. By the time the air cleared, the players in this dark game had disappeared. We think we know the history of 1888. We think we've seen all the evidence, but the truth is that some stories remain there forever, trapped in the yellow shroud. Because in London, the most dangerous things aren't the ones you see. They are the ones that stand right next to you, invisible in the mist,